Are we moving towards a cashless society? A lot of bit players talking about it and wargaming it seem to think so, but it might not be as easy as you think. Let's get into it. Are we going digital currency? Cashless society? Everyone seems to think so, but not so fast, people. It might not be as easy as you think. I did a talk on this a while back about the digital currency. It's hit the news again a little bit lately, and want to delve into it a little deeper. Pew Research shows that in a typical week, 29% of Americans make absolutely zero purchase using cash. And a study by the Square, the app, found that the pandemic had a lot to do with how people are spending their cash. Square's research revealed that cash purchases went down from 37% in February 2020 and landed at 33% just 2 months later. And on the other side of the pond, UK finance study records, they recorded roughly a 35% drop in cash transactions in 2020. As the COVID crisis turbocharged change in people's spending habits across the globe. So in order to participate in a cashless or digital economy, even just using systems like Venmo, a person must have some type of bank account to use those applications. But 6.5% right now, 6.5% of US households are unbanked, meaning they don't have those necessary accounts, according to a national survey by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corp. So roughly about 18.7% more households are underbanked, which means that they have, a checking or savings account, but also use financial products and services outside the banking system. So that means about 25% of all Americans would be unable or, basically limitedly able to participate in a cashless system. So who knows what the elites would do with them. So makes sense, right? A lot of us swipe our debit cards to pay for everything, and wallets stuffed to the brim with receipts, rewards cards, and maybe some gum wrappers, anything but cash. I always carry cash. Gotta have it. So, but a true cashless society, ladies and gentlemen, a true cashless society is way different than that. And that's kind of what I wanted to look at. It's not as easy as they're saying, to implement. It's a world where cash, doesn't exist. No one is paid under the table, and every transaction you make is traceable. Big brother. So the IRS did a talk on it, going down to $600. That goes after the billionaires who take advantage of the system most. You're going to go after some small guy doing $600 deposits. So a cashless society describes an economic state whereby financial transactions are not conducted with money in the form of physical banknotes or coins. So no banknotes, no coins. Many economic powerhouses and the ruling class are in favor of phasing out cash. You wonder why? People at the top make more money. So they are of the view that cash provides support to the shadow economy and permits tax evasion. It is also held that in times of economic shocks that push the economy into a recession, the rising demand for cash, they say, basically exacerbates the downturn. It becomes more a factor of instability having cash in the system. That's interesting. So rather than spend money and boost aggregate demand, the increased demand for cash works against this. That's an interesting point of view. Consequently, it is argued that individuals' access to cash should be curtailed, in order to minimize the potential negatives that cash can pose to the overall economy's health. So get rid of that cash. Furthermore, it is held that in the modern world there is hardly any need for cash, since most transactions, as I stated, can be settled by means of electronic monies. Get rid of that cash, that shadow economy. So through an ongoing selection process over, we talk about thousands of years, people settled on gold as money. Remember gold, the gold standard? Gold served as the standard of money. We needed to go back to the gold standard. So in today's monetary system, the money supply is no longer gold, but coins and notes that are issued by the government and the central bankers. Central bankers introducing those coins and notes. So consequently, coins and notes constitute right now the standard of money and not gold. So that's known as cash, and that is employed in the transactions that you do. So, but note and the essence of money remains intact. It is that for which all other goods and services are traded right now. So, like I said, it's not as easy as everyone's talking about. So, for example, let's say Sammy. So when Sammy deposits his money with a bank, he continues to have an unlimited claim against it and is entitled to take charge of it at any time right now. That could change. Consequently, these deposits labeled demand deposits are part of money. So if in an economy individuals hold, let's say, $10,000 in cash at any point in time, we would say that their money supply in this economy is 10,000. So their money supply is 10,000. Now, if some individuals have stored, let's say, $2,000 in demand deposits, the total money supply would still remain 10,000, and it would be 8,000 of that 10,000 is in cash and 2,000 is in demand deposits. So that is 2,000 cash is stored in bank demand deposits. So finally, if individuals deposit their entire stock of cash, so they deposit their entire stock of cash, the total money supply will remain 10,000. All of it in demand deposits. So this is in the weeds, but I think it's interesting. So you can contrast this. So this must be contrasted with a credit transaction in which the lender of the money relinquishes his claim over the money for the duration of the loan. So as a result, in a credit transaction, money is transferred from a lender to a borrower. So a credit transaction does not, alter the amount of money. So an example of this, take, let's say, Zach. Zach lends $1,000 to Iris, and the money is transferred from Zach's demand deposit or from Zach's wallet to Iris's possession. So electronic money transfer and money. An electronic money transfer is a particular way of using existing money. So you're using existing money to do that transfer. So for instance, by means of electronic devices, Zach can transfer his $1,000 to Iris. Makes sense. So you have to note that the electronic money transfer can take place because the $1,000 in cash exists. Does that make sense? That's the rub. The $1,000, you need the cash, exists. Without the existence of the $1,000 in cash, the transfer from Zach's demand deposit to Iris would not be possible. After all, existing cash must be transferred. Okay? So this is similar, to money transfer by, let's say, means of a check. So when Zach writes a check for $1,000 to Iris, he instructs his bank to transfer the $1,000 to its demand deposits. So obviously the transfer of the $1,000 cannot take place is if Zach does not have the $1,000 at his bank, right? So it's not so simple. So the fact that various electronic money transfers are taking place does not mean that we do not require cash any longer. Can't just wipe it from the banks. On the contrary, the fact that cash exists enables electronic money transfers to take place in the first place. So it's interesting. It's not as easy. So the so-called electronic money is not money as such, but a particular way of using existing money. You're using existing money that is by means of you're using apps like Venmo, electronic devices to buy, the buyer of goods can be transferred money to a seller of goods. So you can transfer money from the buyer to the seller of goods. And at the end of the transaction, the seller of goods knows that the amount of cash in his bank account has risen because of the sales of goods. So at any time, he's entitled to take the money out of his demand deposit. Now, Big Brother might want to take all the money out of your bank accounts, right? So now the central banks are getting involved. So if the central banks, work towards the removal of cash, money, without replacing it with some other form of money, which is, linked to the present money, this is going to undermine the medium of exchange and the market economy. It has to be replaced. So, I was looking at different types of macro and micro research, and when you kind of sum all this together, it's interesting. And I was just, the so-called, electronic money is not money as such, but it's a particular way of using existing money, which is either, coin, notes, cash. So the removal of cash, as advised by various experts, is going to undermine the market economy and result in a drastic decline in individuals' well-being, in my opinion, and from what the research shows. So, a lot of experts, economists have weighed in, and experts, that recommend the removal of cash imply that it is, the modern world. We can make electronic transfers of money without the physical existence of money. Just talking out of their butts. In the real world, however, to facilitate the transfer of cash, money, one must have the cash in order to make the transfer. After all, there must be something that can be transferred. So that's the obstacle right now. When you talk about the monetary system, from the research, regardless of how sophisticated the monetary system is, individuals require a medium of exchange in order to facilitate the transactions. So, bottom line, regardless of the sophistication of the monetary system, money will remain that for which all other goods and services are traded. So I think right now the U.S. is far away from being able to achieve a fully cashless society, and that may not be the end goal. Regardless, it's a concern of some that all money would be traceable, which could be the case 100%, but all also could be avoided if systems were designed to provide privacy. Yeah, right. It's true that a cashless society would mean more of an individual's money would be taxed 100%. And the role that the U.S. government would play in a cashless society is unclear at this time. And we all know how the game works. If you're monitoring transactions, let's say down to 600, and you go cashless, the people at the top who control the central banks, they make more money at the top. okay? And you're going to tax, Peter at the bottom. But when you control all the cash, you're going to make more money at the top in a cashless society. But also, we have a lot of corruption going on. Governments throughout the world that would be not open to going cashless in the exchange of transfer of monies, and everything would be wired. So it's an interesting topic. Got into the weeds. Could be a little boring, some of it. But when I was looking into this deeper, it was just interesting to go into digital currency is not going to be as easy as you think. And we've relied on cash a long time, and a lot of people have talked about the gold standard. That's interesting history, and when you read about why it was changed and all the shenanigans going on there, it's just very interesting, our history. So, cashless society, what do you think? We going that way? They're going to be able to do it? Have a great weekend. Be safe. Be kind. Be happy. Take care of your family. Read. Don't watch football this weekend. Maybe just a little. Take care.